What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Reyes Reflection Podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much. We are always free to subscribe, and make sure you do so. And follow me on the socials at I'm Nathanael Reyes. Got to plug in those partners real quick. Jocko Fuel, clean fuel without compromise. Mad Rabbit Tattoo Aftercare, be bold, be you. Tattoos are a lifetime investment, so why not invest in them lifetime with their sunscreen, especially right now in New England. It is a heat wave, so pick up yourself some and use promo code Reyes Reflection at checkout. And lastly, Arave cards. Head over to their eBay, Facebook, and their streams on Whatnot to get yourself started on your Pokemon card collection today. Now, I know I missed last week. Unfortunately, your boy got hurt, but he's back. Daddy's back with the milk. Don't worry, friends. Sequels can be better than the originals. Shrek 2, Step Up to the Streets. This one might be controversial, but Monsters University, I think, is better than Monsters, Inc.
Ooh, I agree.
All right.
I agree on that one.
At any rate, my next guest, you know her, you love her. Without further ado, Caitlin Taylor, my soon-to-be podcast co-host. Welcome back to the Reyes Reflection.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
I appreciate you doing this. Now that the pleasantries are exchanged, how the fuck are you today?
It's been a day. A lot of work drama. Not so much drama, just I'm getting really burnt out. I work full-time at a catering company on top of having my own business and being a mom of two and a wife. And I tend to overbook myself because I'm learning the art of saying no and not explaining myself. And so it's been difficult, and being that I'm the only decorator, it's getting really frustrating because they keep taking orders and like booking my whole weeks out. And like, obviously I have stuff at home that I need to take care of. And I'm just stressed out because I have a giant wedding cake for next week that I'm actually driving from Maryland to North Carolina and assembling at the Airbnb. So I'm like a little stressed about that. So I'm just like all over the place. Team no sleep.
Because your toxic trait is I can do that.
Yeah, sure is.
We all have those traits that can be superpowers, but they can be our kryptonites at the same time, right? Like you can be
100%
a very nurturing, emotional person, and that can be fantastic. That can be a superpower, but can also be your biggest crutch, especially if you're in just a toxic relationship. I'll just use that. If you really love that person and you really care about them, and all of a sudden you realize, you know what, they're not giving as much as I'm giving to them, you're trying to find the good in them by being nurturing and loving, but that can also be a kryptonite, can be blinding you. So I hear you, my friend. Unfortunately, We do have these superpowers, and we just got to learn to deal with them the way that we can, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I've got a lot going on this week, and then like we just got so our community has a pool, and our neighbors have been trying to get us to get this pool bond for like 2 years to become a member. And you can only be a member if you live within a certain amount, like these certain streets within the city, because they want it to be a community thing. So if you don't live here, you can't get, like you don't live in the city of Bowie, you can't get a bond, but you can go with a member for like, I think it's like $10 a person per day. So we obviously couldn't go as guests of our neighbors because we're Bowie residents. So we need to buy a bond. So the bond is like $700, and then you have to pay like another $700 a season for your membership fee. So like the bond is a one-time thing. So we were like, we're not paying $1,400 to swim, right? So our neighbors were at the pool the other week, and she texts us, and there's a like for sale sign. Somebody was moving to a different state and was selling their bond for $100. And we're like, so we did it. So now we have that. So like we've been taking the kids like pretty much every day. So it's like just one more thing added to my plate of like, when I get home, I normally get home between like anywhere between 3 and 5. If I get home before 5 and the baby's in daycare, then I just have my older son, who typically will go play with the neighbors, whatever. And I have a couple hours to like do what I need to do before the baby gets home. We do the bedtime routine, and then I go back to work. Well, Now it's like, oh, the kids get home and my older son's not in camp yet. He doesn't start camp till next week, which will be much easier. But this week that they're both off because of scheduled vacation, whatever, I get home and they're like, oh, you're taking us to the pool? And I'm like, I have stuff to do, but I feel so bad. And so my husband just took them out of the house to go food shopping for dinner so I can have some quiet time to record this. But yeah, it's been a lot. But the pool's been fun. I'm not translucent anymore, so there's that.
And you only had to pay $100 as opposed to $1,400.
Yeah, well, I think it was like 700 total because you still have to pay the membership for the season. But I mean, it's open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And when you think about when you own a pool, how much goes into chemicals and keeping it clean and, replacing filters and replacing liners, like really, that's not that much money.
Yeah.
And they have like a tennis court, a pickleball court. They've got grills where they supply the propane. You can just cook.
Oh, shit.
They've got like picnic table areas. They've got the pool, obviously. And then they have like a snack bar, and then they've got like a playground and basketball courts for the kids. So like every hour on the hour for 15 minutes is adult swim.
Yeah.
So they get 15 minutes of kid-free swim time. So the kids have somewhere to go and not sit on the chairs and bother their parents. Is it time yet? Blah, blah, blah. They just go off and do their own thing. And then the lifeguards blow the whistle, and then it's like a mass exodus into the pool again.
So it's like summer camp.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's been nice to like have a place to take him to go other than him just sitting inside playing Minecraft, because it's just too damn hot to go on the swings with no relief, So, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, the heat wave is wild.
You said it has pickleball, right?
Yeah, there's a pickleball court too.
Yeah, I stand by that. Pickleball is not a sport, though. That's my opinion.
It's so fun, though.
It's fun, but it's not a sport.
It's funny. I say that. Wait, I say that. I say it's fun. So I have a funny story really quick.
Okay, let's hear it.
My husband's parents, my in-laws, they recently sold it, but they used to have a timeshare vacation apartment, or maybe it wasn't a timeshare. They owned an apartment in Spain on a golf course resort, right? And on the resort, they had pickleball courts also. And so when we went over there one year, we were playing pickleball, and like within the first 15 minutes, my mother-in-law like went to like hit the ball, and like her arm came around and she whacked herself in the forehead with the racket. When I tell you, this lady split her head open
on the paddle
with this fiberglass, because it's fiberglass. It's like feels light, but it's very durable.
Yeah.
And so she smashed it on her head by accident. She was gushing blood. Like it was just pouring out of her head. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? It's pickleball. Like what? And I felt so bad. Like it was so swollen. Like we felt so terrible for her. But I'm like, every time I think of pickleball, I think of that incident, which was so bad. We're like, Claudia versus the pickleball racket.
It's active, it's fun, but I do stand on the fact that pickleball is not a sport.
Why though?
All right. Let me give you my reason for it. Okay, my reason for it. All right, here we go. So, I think it's fun. I think it's cool. Jumping on a trampoline, you can do games, you can do stuff, and it's active and it's still fun. But it's not a sport. You can play popcorn. You can do all these things on a trampoline. Just because you're standing there going like this does not make it a sport. You're not active enough, in my opinion, for it to be a sport. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's fun. But same thing with jumping on a trampoline. You can do stuff, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily a sport.
Isn't the benchmark for sports like it's a sport if it's in the Olympics?
I've always heard that. I have always heard that.
Is pickleball in the Olympics?
You know what? This is a good question. Let's go ahead and we're going to research this right now. I'm looking it up.
You know, the only reason why I know that that's a benchmark is because I used to cheer, and like the whole argument of cheerleading's not a sport, blah, blah, blah. And they have added it. I don't know if it's like, I don't want to misspeak. I know there was talks of adding it to the Olympics as a sport, like the actual like the all-star type, where it's like actually you have to have tumbling, you have to have stunting, you have to have all of this stuff because that's the athletic part.
Yep.
It's not the act of like doing the cheer, like the chant. It's the all of the other things that are involved in it.
Yep.
Which is why there's like an offshoot now. And I don't know how like recent it is, but it's recent to me hearing about it in the last 10 years is acrobatics and tumbling.
Yeah.
Which is essentially the same thing. It's just more controlled. It's not to music or anything. It's just very like controlled, like static stunting and like movements like that, and it takes so much strength and it's so dangerous. I'm like, I don't understand how there are more athletes that get sent to the hospital with concussions and like broken ribs and shit like that from cheerleading than a lot of other contact sports. So I don't understand the argument of it's not a sport for that.
According to this website, thepickler.com. Okay, the Pickler.
Oh God. That sounds promising.
Well, I was against it, but it was the first one that popped up, and it's all the latest news on pickleball.
There's something for everybody, I'm telling you.
That's true. There's a market for everyone. Pickleball will need to look to 2032 and beyond for Olympic consideration. So at the moment right now, until at least after 2032, I think Nathaniel's right. I think Nathaniel's right.
Manifest it.
Yes. Until then, when I'm still doing this podcast, then I'll hit you up. We'll do another episode, and we'll go ahead and
we gotta have the follow up.
Yes, about this. Yes,
pickleball in the Olympics.
But I'm putting it out into the ether. I love
our tangents that we go on. That's great.
I know. So let's talk about your time on TV this time.
Yeah,
okay?
Let's do it.
So you did a lot of cool shit on TV. 2-time champ.
Thanks.
And even though you didn't win Is It Cake Season 3, you were still on it. You competed well.
Spoiler alert. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. You did go home, but we'll talk about everything like that. So I want to start from the first show that I don't know too much of, which is, the first two shows, which is Sugar Rush and Cake-a-Likes.
Yeah.
What are those shows? What did you do on them? I want to hear about that.
So do you want to know like how it all like kind of started and like how I even got on there?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So for Sugar Rush, when season 1 came out, I had always said I wanted to do like Food Network Challenge. Like I really wanted to like get good enough to like compete and get one of those coveted Food Network patches for my chef coat. And I saw Sugar Rush on Netflix and I went, oh my God, like this show I could do that. Like, because the place I was working at the time in Florida, like sorry, Stephen Will, they were crazy. Like they would not stop taking orders. We would be there at 4 a.m. on a Saturday and it would be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'd still be there and we're like, getting ready to wrap up and they'd be like, oh, I just took a wedding cake order for tomorrow. Oh, but it's easy. It's just 3 tiers and buttercream and there's all this stuff on it. But it's so easy. And we're like, so like we had to learn the art of moving our ass and just like making these cakes appear out of seemingly nowhere, like very quickly. We would do like over 100 cakes a week and it was pandemonium. Like I don't even know, that whole like time working there was a blur to me because of how much we did. And so because of that, I was like, oh my God, I know how to move fast. Like this is perfect. So basically the premise of the show is you're beating the clock, right? So there's 3 rounds, you have a partner. The first 2 rounds you get 3 hours total. So basically you're trying to finish as fast as you can and hit the buzzer to be done with your first round. So the first round is cupcakes, the second round is confections, the third round is cakes. So basically you finish the first round, you hit the buzzer, your time stops. And then the judges come over and they judge you. And then when they're done judging you, they say, okay, here's your confections challenge. You can start when we walk away and your timer starts again. While you're working on the second confection, like the confection round, and once everyone's done being judged for the first round at their own pace, they announce who's eliminated. So you could be midway through your second bake and get eliminated. So you want to work quickly, but you want to be accurate as well. because you want to win. So like when we did the show, we won the first challenge. So we just kept going. So if you lost, you just like abandoned your station and had to do the walk of shame out. And so then the second round, the confections, you do the same thing, same premise. However, when the clock stops that time, whatever time you banked of the 3 hours, so say the cupcake took you an hour, confection took you an hour, you get a whole hour that gets tacked on to your third hour, or your next 3 hours, which is the cake round. So you want to basically go real quick first and second, so you get as much time as possible added on to your 3 hours for the cake.
Yeah, for the final, yeah.
Right. So that's the premise of it. And so when I watched the show for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, I could totally do that, blah, blah. I Googled everywhere, like, how do you get cast for TV shows? Like, I didn't know. So I'm like Googling stuff and I can't find anything. And I'm like, what the hell? So then I guess maybe because I had searched, I mean, this is back in what, 2017? No, 2018 I filmed. So this is back in maybe the summer of 2018. So like the algorithm was a thing, but it wasn't as crazy as it is today, where like you mention something and then you start getting targeted ads.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if that was part of it, but I did Google like Sugar Rush season 2, how to get cast, blah, blah, blah. Then about, a couple months later, I got an email through the email that was listed on my Instagram saying, hey, I'm casting for a show on Netflix, a baking show that, you have to beat the clock, blah, blah, blah. Would you be interested in? And I said, oh my God, I love Sugar Rush. And she was like, oh, good. So you know it. I'm like, you have no idea. I've been trying to find you guys. Like, I'm so excited. How did you find me? And she's like, oh, Instagram. And I was like, yes, which means they already want me because they found me.
Yeah, they searched you, right?
Annoying person that's like, please put me on TV. So we went through the process of that. They're like, do you have an idea of who you want to be your partner? And at the time, my head chef, Sabrina, working at the same place as me, I knew that she was really good at confections because she used to be a pastry chef at a hotel. So like she did plated desserts all the time. So I'm like, oh, yeah, me and her can both knock out the cupcake. She can do the confection, be the brains around the confection, and I can be the brains around the cake. And then perfect, right? So we end up getting cast. We fly out to LA for 4 days, film it. It was the craziest thing ever because Christmas had just ended and we got cast for the Christmas episode because they told us, they were like, oh, we're going to be filming for 6 Christmas episodes and 6 normal episodes. And then they're going to air as like 2 separate seasons, basically. So we'll let you know which one you get. And we ended up getting the Christmas episode, and we filmed the weekend of Valentine's Day that year. So we had to like be like, Christmas didn't just end, it's still Santa time. Like, it was so strange to be like back in the holiday spirit after like just taking your tree down and like getting past it. So we ended up having a blast. It was really fun. And we won all 3 rounds. It was a clean sweep, which was nuts, being that it was our first show. And then of course, never been on TV before, we're like, man, it's a Christmas episode. This shit's not going to come out to like Thanksgiving at the earliest. Now we just have to sit there on the fact that we just won $10,000 and not tell anybody.
And you're sworn to secrecy.
So difficult because it's like, at the time it was like the biggest accomplishment of my professional career, and I couldn't tell anybody. Yeah, I was like, this sucks. But it was so cool to be able to like celebrate with everybody once it aired, because it was like, oh my God, like I actually did it. I was able to go on TV and we won, like first time out. So cool. So that was really awesome. And then because of that, the production company, I think, was called Magical Elves. And so I was on their list because I was now a cast member. So then you get put on this crazy list that basically just gives your info out to other producers for other competition shows. And you get on like their Rolodex. So like they'll send you like promotional emails and stuff for other shows. Like I get emails from a bunch of them now because they're all kind of intertwined and they share lists and stuff. So like I get emails from like JS Casting and Magical Elves and one other, I forget the name of it, but so that helps because then once you get your foot in the door, it's easier to get casts on other stuff. And so that was a really cool experience. And then for Cake-alikes, the show aired, and then I think we got reached out to fairly quickly. I want to say we got reached out to in June of 2020 to go on Cake-alikes, and it was like a quick turnaround. And obviously it was right in the middle of COVID. So there was like a whole, like we had to take a test before we went and do all that. And they basically saw me on Sugar Rush and saw my Instagram and they reached out to me. And at that point I picked my friend Veronica, who also worked at that same bakery with me, who is also really a very talented artist and sculptor and stuff. So that worked out in our favor also because when we got there, I'll give you what was different. So what was different was with Sugar Rush, they already knew what the episodes were going to be. So like you were told like, okay, you need to prepare to have recipes for whatever you want to make for the cupcake round, for the cake round, for the confection round, because they also want you to submit it to them so they can make sure nobody's making the same thing. Right? They want it to be very dynamic. So like we were like, got the email and I'm like, Sabrina, drop what you're doing. We need to do this now. Like we need to get our shit in because I don't want to get stuck not doing the ingredients we want because someone else has picked them first. So we submitted all our shit like within 2 hours of receiving all the emails because they run on their own timeline, right? Like they don't care if you have your own business or whatever you're doing stuff. Like when they ask you for shit, you better send it to them quick. Like they need it now. A lot of people joke that like show business is very hurry up and wait, and it sure is because they want you on their timetable and then they're fine letting you brew for like 2 hours and wait for them to be ready because they just want it lined up so that nobody else is waiting on you, kind of thing.
Yep. I have heard that from people on other shows that they make them give them all their information right away, and then for some reason they take forever to get back to them, and then all of a sudden they hear something and they're like, wait a minute, I had to pause vacation times or I had to switch my vacation just because of this.
Yeah, and I think it's also because there's so many moving parts, right? Like it's not just a handful of people. Like you have the camera people, and then you have to remember like all of these people that are involved are in unions. So they're very strict timelines and very strict times of day and like things that they have to follow.
Yeah.
And so like they need to be on it, which I didn't appreciate the first time. I didn't get it. And then when I got on Cake-alikes, especially during COVID and stuff, like they were very like, no, the cameraman is off in 20 minutes. We need to wrap up this interview now. Like it was very much like, we need to get our shot. We need to do this. We need to do that. So with Cake-alikes, they didn't tell us anything other than you're making a life-size human, but we're not going to tell you, or you're going to have to, so it's going to be something involving a human head or something like that. I can't remember the exact wording, but they're like, we're not telling you anything else.
Because you had to make someone that looked like somebody else.
Yeah. They're like, this is the name of the show. Like you can kind of deduce what it is from there. You're not going to be baking. This isn't a baking challenge. You're going to be purely decorating. We'll supply the cake to you, but we want to get your real reactions. And so we did the first like really stupid, in my opinion, round. Like, here's the thing, right? They could have made that show so much cooler than it was. Like they goofed it so bad in editing, and like I get it, they were trying to go for comedy, but like for a show that could have been so cool because we were making cool stuff, it didn't come across that way.
So
and unfortunately it's been pulled from TV. Like it's been pulled from everywhere. Like you can only watch it on some like obscure like pirated website. Not that I've done it, don't come for me. But I've been told.
I know what you mean. I tried looking it up and I couldn't find it. And I was like, how come I don't know about this show? Yes.
Yeah, it was on Discovery Plus for about 6 months. And then Veronica actually went to go watch it or show it to somebody. And she's like, did they take cake likes off of Discovery Plus? And I'm like, I don't know. Did they? I thought I saw it yesterday. And sure enough, I went on and it's not there anymore. And the only reference you can find to it is on foodnetwork.com. It shows that it was a show and it shows thumbnails and like descriptions of the episodes, but you can't stream it anywhere.
So they fucked up.
I guess. I don't know. It's kind of sucks though, because like at least give us a copy, you know, for posterity. Like I would have liked a copy of my episode at least, but
I feel like you should have been able to keep some sort of, even just for, like, it's tough when you are signing those papers, but I wish that there was a way that they were like, oh, you get to keep the episode you were on, like you said, for your portfolio or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have pictures that they sent me, like official pictures and GIFs and stuff that they created, like that we were allowed to post and stuff. So I have that. So I know it happened. Like I didn't hallucinate it. Like it was real. And so we ended up getting there, and then like we did the first challenge, which was so silly. It was like you only had 20 minutes to make a figure of your partner. And I'm like, 20 minutes isn't even enough time to like make a head. Like,
Yeah, like what?
it's nothing. But I was like, oh, I'm like, you know, false sense of time. We were dead last. We was so bad. It was so terrible. It came out awful, but it was a funny like little thing. I mean, I was really hard on myself at the time because I was like, man, I really fucked that up. But it ended up working out in our favor because whoever won that first challenge, we then were told, okay, you're going to be making a cake-alike of Kim Kardashian. And we were like, what the fuck?
I saw
and
that.
then these 3 pictures came up, and they were 3 completely different Kims. Like there was a pregnant Kim in a long dress. There was like a Kim in a black latex dress with like when she had blonde hair. And then there was our Kim who was like the bob, sunglasses, tight pink like mini dress basically with like the French fry purse or whatever. And so I'm looking at Veronica like, fuck, which one? We're going to get stuck with one now. Like we don't even get a choice because we were dead last. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And for whatever reason, the other 2 teams thought that the other 2 Kims were going to be easier. And I'm just like, did they just give us the easiest cake? What just happened? Because you think about like, it had to be, I think they said it was like supposed to be 80% cake. So like you didn't need to make the head cake, but like basically the whole torso had to be cake. Like anything that was bulky had to be cake. So if you had the Kim with the long floor length dress, you had a lot of cake that you had to put in that. And that was the one where she was pregnant. So you had her boobs, her ass, which is in another planet, her pregnant stomach, and then all of her legs because it was covered by the dress. So that's a lot more work. And then the latex one, I think was also floor length. And like to make latex, like they used, I think vegetable oil. They brushed it on. And so it stayed shiny, which was perfect. But it's like, that would have been hard. And then also the one with the black lace, latex, sorry, I keep saying lace, the black latex dress, she didn't have anything on her face. So you had to then sculpt the face, do her makeup, do the eyes, do the eyelashes. Ours had sunglasses on. So the only thing I had to sculpt was ears, not even ears because her hair was covering it. It was a nose, a mouth, a chin, and like her contour and her eyebrows. Because I just put a big ass block of modeling chocolate on her eyes and sculpted it into sunglasses and called it a day. And then like our dress was so short that we didn't need to fill it with too much cake. So we could really focus on all the other details. And then the other thing with that was like the other 2 teams. So the one with the black latex dress, they worked together, but they hadn't really done humans before. Like they've never done like, I guess at the time they hadn't done like sculpted cakes like that necessarily. And then the other team, which was wild to me, they knew each other from online, like online community. They had never met in person or worked together before. That was their first time. And so I'm like, wow, that is brave because you don't know how the person works. You don't know their strengths. You only know what they told you. Whereas Veronica and I had worked together for 6 years.
Yep.
So we were like, we divided and conquered. We were like, I was like, all right, I got the head, you get the arms, like we got this. And we let each other do our thing. We didn't micromanage each other. So like we got 14 hours to do this cake. Realistically, it was 28 hours because we both worked separately. Whereas the other teams were like checking in with each other every team, like, oh, I wouldn't do it like that. Oh, I do like this. And so like they slowed each other down. So that worked out in our favor too, because we were like, oh, we know. She's like, I know you're gonna crush the face. I got you. Like I'm good at color mixing. I'm good at that, whatever. And we just divided it up, and ours looked fantastic. Like our cake for the whole season was the cover of the show. So that just goes to show how good it came out. And I was so, so proud of it. And you know what? When the judging happened, I felt so terrible. And I was like, Veronica, if it wasn't a competition, I would have stopped what I was doing and went and helped the other two teams because both of them collapsed.
Oh, that's
There were like arms falling off. The dress was shredding. Like it was bad. I think pregnant Kim ended up completely armless by the end of judging.
That's rough. That's rough.
Yeah. I was like, if I was them, I would have cried. I felt so bad. I'm like, I want to go help them so bad. But I was like, I know we need to focus on our stuff. But like, I was just like watching the train wreck happen in front of me going, please just can we just pause for a minute so I can just help them restructure it? Like have something for them to judge, you know? And then we ended up winning. We ended up winning that episode. And I mean, I don't want to say by default because ours was really good. And like I stand by what we made, but also ours was the only one that stayed together. So if they didn't let us win, I think it would have been an upset. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't know. It was crazy.
Somebody knew the producer then at that point if you all didn't win type of deal.
Yeah. And it was pretty crazy because they did something really wacky. So they're like, oh, you won the $10,000, blah, blah, blah. And we also have another gift for you. Tell me how they brought out a bust. It wasn't even a bust because it was a butt. It was a styrofoam hips and waist with shapewear on it that had butt pads. And they gifted us a Kim Kardashian butt. They're like, here, now you can wear these and be just like Kim. I was dead. We were cracking up. And then I put them on in the hotel, like underneath my leggings. I sent it to my husband and I was like, look what I won. And he's like, damn, they gave you a BBL. I was like, no, it's a pad. It's so ridiculous. It's like so over the top. Like it's costumey how big this thing is.
Yeah.
And how small I am as a person. It was so funny.
Yeah.
We were dying laughing.
Do you still own this makeshift ass of Kim Kardashian?
I think I might still have it. Like we have like a big costume box of like all our Halloween costumes and stuff. I think I might have stuffed it in there. It might still be upstairs. It's really funny though. We were cracking up. And then, yeah, so that was a fun one. And then with Is It Cake, the fun fact about that was I was supposed to be on season 1. They reached out to me before it was even a show. And I was like late stage process. And then they told me the dates. And the last week of filming was the week of my brother-in-law's wedding that I was in Mexico.
So you couldn't.
And I was like, how flexible are these dates? And she's like, unfortunately, they're not flexible. I'm like, if I was to fly to LA, would you guys be able to give me a flight elsewhere, like not return? Could I do like a one-way and then like a one-way somewhere? Like I was trying so hard to do this to be like, oh, I could just fly to Mexico because it's the day before the wedding and I'll just come wait.
Yeah.
I was like, it didn't work out. So they're like, it's fine. Like, I'm pretty sure this show's going to do really well. Like it's, it's testing really well, the idea. So I think like there'll probably be a second season. So we'll definitely like reach out to you. And I was like, damn, okay, cool. And I forgot about it. And then it aired and I'm like, oh my God, I think this is the show. Because they didn't tell me the name of it. They just said it was like, you have to fool the judges, blah, blah, blah. And then it came out and I'm like, I think this is the show. And then I watched Andrew win like $70,000. And I'm like, I looked at my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law and I went, you are so lucky. I love you. And they're like, why? I'm like, I could have been there and I could have won that money. And so I was so mad. And then I'm like, no, everything for a reason. Maybe this is good because now it's not a new show. Like Cake Likes was like a new show for us, right? So we didn't get to see the first season. So we didn't know what to expect. So like with Sugar Rush, I knew what to expect. So I knew what to do going in and what not to do. Whereas with Cake Likes, I didn't. Luckily, it worked out for us, but it could have ended terribly, you know? And then with Is It Cake, it was like, okay, it's fine. I learned how the game works now. Like, it'll be fine. Second season, like, we'll figure it out. So then they reached out to me at the second season. I was 9 months pregnant, and I'm like, I'm about to give birth, and there's no way in hell that I'm going to be able to leave a 2-month-old at home for a month with my husband while I'm breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to happen. And so I was like, man, like, I'm so mad that it's not going to work out a second time. I really hope there's going to be a third season, because, like, everybody was telling me you need to get on the show. Like, everybody in my life was like, I can't believe, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I was supposed to be. Shut up and stop talking about it. Like, I was so mad. And then, you know, I watched season 2 and I saw that it was harder, and, like, they kind of changed the rules a little bit. And I was like, oh, man, like, if they're doing that now, like, what are they going to do for season 3, blah, blah, blah. And then I started reaching out earlier than I knew they were casting to just, like, cast the net, make sure they didn't forget about me. And
Put that bug in there. Yep.
And within, like, 12 hours, they called me. Like, I submitted it. They didn't reach out to me the third time. I submitted, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. We wanted you. And then they, like, pushed me through, and, like, I went through the whole process and everything like that. And then I got there, and I met 7 of the most amazing cake artists, people, human beings. Like, I love all of them. I am so grateful to call every single one of them my friend. From day one, there was no animosity. There was no competition. It was genuinely like, how are we going to fool these judges? Like, it was us versus the judges, not us versus each other. We were gassing each other up the whole time. It was so much fun. Like, so much fun. I would not trade that experience for anything in the world. It was far surpassed both of the other shows that I did, because of just the bonding that we had and got to hang out. And it wasn't like a one-off episode where, like, right when you start to get to know somebody, you're going home, you know? It was like we had time to hang out and get to know each other, and a lot of downtime in the green room. And it was really great. It was really, really great.
So it sounds like it was a great experience for you, which I'm happy to hear. But like all things in life, there's equal and opposite forces. So I want to hear from you. What would you say there's something that you would personally have improved within the show? Obviously not your performance, not things like that. I'm talking about the show as a whole.
There's a few things, actually. And I spoke to a couple of the producers about it when I was there, and I was just giving them, like, like we all did, gave them feedback, because, you know, they change things every season, and they take feedback from everybody. So, like, for instance, season 2, a lot of people got mad about some of the cakes that Spirit did, because, like, I think one of them was, like, the watering can or the canteen that was supposed to be cobalt blue with specks on it, and she painted the whole thing black because she couldn't match the color. People got mad about that. They're like, oh, that's so messed up. Like, she's supposed to make the cake look like the object, not the opposite way around. Like, that's such a cop out. Of course, now they all look like cake. Or, like, sometimes, like, I think in season 1, like, Justin put gelatin, or was it Justin? Maybe it was Johnny. I haven't seen the first season in a while. I have to go back and watch, but I think it was Johnny did tacos, and he put gelatin tomatoes on all of the decoys as well. So it wasn't like, oh, that doesn't look like a real tomato. It's like, well, they're on everything.
Yeah.
So there were instances like that people were really mad about, like the audience. And Netflix took the suggestions. And so when our show came up, we're all thinking, okay, we know how this game works. Like, we're going to win some money. And then they turn around and goes, oh, there's a new rule, actually. You can't mess with the decoys. We were like, I'm sorry, what? They're like, the only thing you can do to the decoys this season is spray them with gloss or spray them with dull spray. And there's baby powder if you can attach that in some fashion. Don't know how that was going to work. Or sandpaper. But other than that, we couldn't put anything edible on the decoys. We couldn't. So, like, if something was silver, case in point, I think Reina's hydro flask, she wasn't allowed to paint all the silver with silver paint. So if it was silver, it was purely silver color. You had to match that with edible material, which notoriously metallic paint is very, very hard to make look real because it's edible. It's not real metal. So the shine is completely different. So you have to be very innovative. And so arguably, and I might get backlash from this, but arguably our season was the hardest season yet because we were not allowed to do half the stuff that the previous 2 seasons were. So ours had to be very, very accurate, and you had to be very skilled in order to do it. Which, spoiler alert, I didn't get to fool the judges ever when I was on the show. And that sucked a lot, but it was also kind of like, okay, well, it's also a lot harder to fool the judges because I can't make the decoys look more like cake to like throw them off like they did in previous seasons. So it was like trying to come up with ways to like make it look not like cake. I don't know. It was really hard. And then of course you have the time that you go against. So like we told them, I say all that to say when you're done, what they do is when they call time, each person gets 10 minutes or 5 minutes to put their cake and their decoys on the podiums. So you get to pick which spot you want it to be in, and they put the lights the way the lights are going to be for the judges. So you get to stand where the judges are and actually figure out where you want to put your stuff. But what you're not allowed to do is touch up your cake. So while you're working, there's a certain kind of lighting, right? You're trying to match yours to the decoy and everything in that lighting. And then the judges get a completely different lighting. And we all know in production, lighting is everything. So that really messes you up because then you're like, well, fuck, in this lighting, my cake looks like a freaking cake. But in that lighting, it didn't. It looked amazing. So now what do? You don't have time to do it. So my suggestion was you should, in that 5 minutes, you should allow the contestants to place their cake and then do any touch-ups they need to do. Because that makes it fair, because how are you going to expect that's like putting your this is the best example I have. It's like putting your makeup on with your phone light and then going to an interview and not being able to touch it up before you go in. You're flying blind. So, my iguana, for example, the lighting was completely crazy and the podiums weren't all at the same height. Because at that point we were like operating on, maybe it'll be, that won't be how the podiums are. It's like, well, that's what they are. And there's spotlights now and there's all sorts of crazy lighting. And I went to put it on it and I was like, I guess we're going to just see what happens. But I would have loved to have been able to like make some of the colors a little more vibrant or, dull something or whatever, like once it was on the lighting, or at the very least, while your time is going, have the lighting on the stage be that way so you can take time yourself and go put them on before time's up to see like, okay, maybe I should do this here. Maybe I should do that there. Just to make it a little bit, not easier, but like realistic. And I know the judges only get 10 seconds or 20 seconds to look, but it's like, that's the other thing when, this was the other suggestion I had. So in episode 1, 2 people were on the same spin, right? You had Henderson and Jujar on the same spin, and they had 20 seconds to find both cakes. Every other subsequent episode, each person was on their own spin. So you had, let's just use the same 4. Henderson, Jujar, Timmy, Caitlin. Henderson was first. So if Henderson sprays his tiki mugs matte to try to throw off the judges, it's a new set of judges. So they don't know what to expect. So they're like, I know cakes are glossy, or I know cakes are matte, so I'm going to pick that one. It spins. They pick that one based off of that knowledge that they have. And then they cut it. Oh, why did that do that? And then they cut the cake before the next spin. They reveal it. So now, as a judge, if I'm like, cakes are matte, I'm picking the matte one. And then I find out that that's the glossy one. What's my knowledge going into the next one? Okay, so not all cakes are matte, so maybe it's the glossy one next time. So if you're the next person in line and you did the opposite thing, you're already screwed because now they have that knowledge. So what I said was what you should do is have each individual spin as is, but don't reveal which one's the cake until everybody's had a chance to have their spin. Because the judges learn every spin. So if you're in seat 3 or 4, you're so screwed because now they know how to play the game. And they're like, unless your cake is really freaking good, it's very, very hard to fool them if you're spin 3 or 4. So hopefully they'll listen to me. I don't know. I also kind of like put out there, I'm like, so I know season 3 is going to be awesome because we're on it. So you're probably going to have a season 4. So once season 4 happens, season 5, hear me out, all stars.
Yeah.
I was like, bring back 4 people from each season. Sorry, bring back everyone, but have only 4 of them compete. Have the winners, the one who got knocked out first, one of the finalists, and then a fan favorite from every season, and then have the other 4 from that season like hop in and help them, maybe do like a team challenge where it's like season versus season, like
Battle
you
of
could do
seasons.
so much with that, and people would love that.
They would, because it's reality television, so they would eat that up. They would eat up competing against somebody else. And like you said, there's so many elements to that because there's, I didn't really like this one, but you know what? I love that season, and I want that season to win. So I like that idea. I think that would be a great idea.
I'm like, come on, man, that'd be so cool. They're like, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. I'm like, copyright 2023, Caitlin Taylor. You're welcome.
Let's see if I can pull this off. All right, ready? I love that idea. Let's see if I can pull this off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little hearts that showed up after that. I love that idea. Yeah, there we go. We're like
So,
oversized. We're oversized toddlers right now with this.
Yeah, it's fine. I remember I first I did like a thumbs down on something, and then it started raining. I was like, what the hell?
I want to see if it does it. Oh, no.
Oh, no, wait. It's this one,
Oh, it's the double thumbs down.
I think. Why is it not? There it goes.
Oh, boo me. All right. I like it, though.
We're
Dude.
so silly.
I know. This is fun.
But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Although I will say something super fun that's happening soon. The cast and I from season 3 will be doing a collab with a hotel down in Charleston.
Oh, that's cool.
Not anything like official or anything with Netflix. It's just we wanted to do something fun together again because we really enjoyed when we went to Orlando to do the circus commercial thing for when Is a Cake came out. And we're like, oh, we want to do that again. So Julie, who lives in Charleston, contacted the hotel, and basically what's happening is we are going to be there for a couple days in July, and we're doing an art install. So they're going to be putting these acrylic display boxes in their lobby of realistic cakes that are Charleston based. So like I'm doing a soft shell crab sandwich cake. A couple of them are doing like sea turtles, and then like a pineapple, and like this really beautiful like southern vase with sugar flowers and everything. And we're gonna do like a meet and greet with like the locals and everything. And they're gonna have them in their lobby for a few months. And so we're kind of doing like a impromptu cast reunion because we love each other so much.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll be sure to check it out on your Instagram when you do that.
For
That's
sure.
awesome. That's awesome. All right, you want to end it with some burning questions then?
Yes. Let's do it.
All right, awesome. Non-baking related, what does Caitlin like to do in her spare time?
So much stuff. Like I said, my toxic trait is I could do that. So I joke that my hobby is learning hobbies.
I like that.
So I know how to bookbind. I know how to sew. So I took a sewing class over Christmas break. So I'm trying to learn how to make clothes because all the time I don't have, just sounds like fun. I also really love reading. I love drawing, particularly on my iPad. I love Procreate. It's so fun. And I actually just got back into painting on canvas too. So
Nice.
yeah. I'll have to send you a picture. My son is currently obsessed with Titanic. I don't know if I mentioned
Yeah, you
that
mentioned
last
yes.
So he commissioned his mom to make him a painting of the Titanic, and honestly, it came out really freaking cool. I was like, "Holy crap, I made that!" It is wild. Like I haven't haven't painted on canvas in years, but because I've painted so many cakes, it's just crazy how like that same skill I was able to translate to another medium because I improved so much just from doing cakes.
Yeah.
And I just did it for fun. I'm like, oh, you want mom to paint you a Titanic? That's cool. I'll try it. Like, we'll see how it comes out. And it actually came out really good. I was like, no, Caitlin, don't have that thought. My thought was like, can I make paintings and sell them? Like, I don't need anything else to do.
Yeah, more on your plate. As you start the episode with "there's so much on my plate," let me just add more on the plate. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm telling you, your trait is I can do it.
You know, I keep getting these emails for like local craft fairs, and I'm like, well, I can't be a cake vendor, so like, what else could I do if I wanted to do it? Like, what would I do? And I'm like, oh, I could make journals. I could make bags. I could do all these things, and I'm like, how much time do you realistically have, bitch? Sit down. Take a nap.
Try to clear the deck a little bit.
Have some water. Like, you need to eat food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's bad.
You're like, I don't even eat properly, but I'm just going to go ahead and, yeah. All right, I want to play a fun little game, okay? So I'm going to say one word, and you tell me the first word that comes to mind when I say it, but you can't repeat a previous word.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool. So this is like a Family Feud right now.
Yeah, I guess you could say it. Yes, okay. Baking.
Cake.
Family.
My boys.
Happiness.
Sleep.
Caitlin.
Me? I don't know.
Future.
Business.
And lastly, past.
Past. Probably learn.
I love that because you learn from the past.
Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Those are some really good ones. I love that. That shows the deep-rooted person of Caitlin. I love that.
It's so bad because my ADHD just like was repeating you in my head, and I had to be like, no, not that. Next. It was like you said Caitlin, and I went Caitlin. I was like, no, that's not an answer.
That's funny. All right, I got a question for you. I'm going to add it to the stage here.
Cool.
If a dog wore pants, would he wear them like this or like this?
Probably the second one because they can stand on their hind legs.
Yeah, I agree. For some reason, I don't know. I thought you were a four-legged person. I don't know why.
Looking like SpongeBob. I don't like it. It's very weird. Like, cause that's his arms too, you know? Like, I know he's like, it's just awkward. I don't know. I like think of like a onesie and like, what if there was only the front of a onesie and just be like,
well, I'm always like, well, they have a box chest. Like that's their chest still. So like they need it and they can wear shirts. So I agree with you. All right, chat pack time. If you had to build a fountain for a park being developed near your home, what would you do to make this fountain truly spectacular? Other than name it the Caitlin Taylor Fountain. That would be spectacular enough just as is.
I'd probably make it interactive.
Ooh.
I like an activity.
Have you seen that portal that people from New York can go see people in Dublin in New York?
No.
Yes.
What?
Yes. There's like a little portal, and if you go ahead and somebody at another public Dublin park in Ireland, they can stand in front and you can stand in New York and you can interact with this person from Dublin, Ireland. Yes.
Whoa, like public FaceTime, basically.
Pretty much.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They had to put some restrictions because people were lifting their shirts up and doing a bunch of mess.
People are crazy.
Yes.
We can't ever have anything nice.
No.
We know this. No, I would probably make it interactive in a way of like, I'm like a big proponent for like, I love secret doors. And I love, like, I told my husband, I'm like, in my dream house, I will have secret rooms with, like, you know, like you can different passages and things. Like, I want a door behind a bookshelf so bad. Like, I want to live my dream. I told him, I'm like, when we do the kitchen, when we fix up our kitchen, because our kitchen's very dated right now, and where I am in the basement, we're making like my bakery area. Like, we're gonna have a whole full scale second kitchen for me. But the basement door is in the kitchen. And so we're getting like floor to ceiling cabinets. And I told him, I'm like, I really want to put a false cabinet over the door, like not have a door, that be the door. So that when you open it, it's the stairs. Because I want like a speakeasy type basement. Like, how cool would that be? I don't know.
Cool.
Like, you see cool. Like the false cabinetry for like the like dishwasher and the fridge, and I'm like, how cool would it be? Because it's going to be a whole wall of cabinets, and I feel like it's going to be weird to just be like a door there.
Yeah.
So it'd be so cool where like you press like a button inside a cabinet and it unlocks the door to go into the basement. Like, that's sick. Yeah. I want to do that so bad. I'm like, it wouldn't even be that much money because you're buying the cabinets anyway. Just add an extra one. He's like, we'll talk about it. And I'm like, it's not a no. But I think my fountain would have to be something like some secret thing that you interact with it a certain way, and then maybe like it opens like, I don't know, like a door, like the Chamber of Secrets, like it opens like a door and then there's like a cool like hangout or something. I don't know. Like, I think there'd be something cool for that.
I agree, because even with the cabinets that you're talking about, like one of the coolest things I always saw of when I was a kid was the show Hey Arnold, and I love that his bed was like hidden into the wall. Like, to me, that was one of the coolest features in his room. It was a normal chilling room. Yeah, and then he pulled it down and he could sleep. I'm like, it's fucking badass. I wish I had that room. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Hey Arnold had a pretty dope room.
You can ask me another question if you want, but I do remember that I took a screenshot of something to share with you based on our conversation last time. So give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You do that.
It's still on my phone. Okay, so I got it. Okay, so it said, I saw it. It came across on my Instagram. Somebody had reposted it, and I just was like, wow, that's so true. So it said, the way people view you, and this goes back to like people getting mad about what you say and like misunderstanding, right? Yep. The way people view you. Sometimes I think about the different characters I play in everyone's story. I'm a terrible person in some people's narratives and a godsend in others. And none of it has anything to do with the person who I truly am. The lens that others view you through is colored by their upbringing, beliefs, and individual experiences. Some people see your bright personality as endearing, and others see it as annoying. Some people think you're weak and emotional, and others feel safe to be themselves around you. Some people think that you're rude and selfish, and others respect the way you stand up for yourself. Some people admire the way that you take pride in the way that you look, and others think you're conceited. None of this has to do with the person who you truly are. What you have to understand is that you have no authority over how people view you, so never try to control the way others see you, because the only thing that truly matters when the dust settles down at the end of the day is what you genuinely see in yourself.
That is remarkable. Bam. That was really cool. No, it's totally true.
For all of y'all that have imposter syndrome, just know that the only thing that matters is what you think of yourself, because you have to go to sleep with you every night.
That is totally true. I say that all the time. I say all the time that at the end of the day, you have your TVs, you have your influences, you have your friends, you have your loved ones, you have your dogs, you have your animals, whatever, your pets. I don't care. The point that I'm making is at the end of the day, you live in here. I completely agree with that statement or everything that you just read, because it's totally true. I think there's so many moments in life that even myself, I have found that some people have said, damn, he's obnoxious. Oh, he's too much for me because he's so outgoing. But in others, it's like, this guy's a fucking fun guy. Look at him. He can liven up the room. He can go ahead and get a conversation coming out of thin air. And so I I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. No, I love that. That was
I thought
amazing.
you'd like that. I read that and I went, oh, I have to screenshot this for next time.
That was amazing. That was amazing.
I literally found it, I think, like the day after we talked last time. And I was like, oh, that would have been so good. I was like, part 2.
That was the universe telling you, hey, there's going to be a part 2. And there will be a part 3 because we have to unpack some things that some people said, which was about like the depression and things like that. Like I had some comments of people saying like, yeah, well, you're still insensitive about the depression, meaning me. And I was like, I really wish you understood the baseline message behind that. It has nothing to do with, it's just how you view it and how I view it at the end of the day, I guess, which is similar to the post that you're making.
Yeah, you can't please everybody. And like,
No.
That's the other thing is like, no matter what you do, you're going to piss somebody off.
Yep.
And I think the goal is just the intention behind it. And that also proves like if you're a good person or not. And like if you're truly out to hurt someone, then okay, you're a piece, right? But if you're not out to hurt anyone and you're just truly trying to understand, or like, you know, what a lot of people say is like, oh, people, you know, they call people like fake or whatever for changing their mind on things. And it's like, don't get me started on cancel culture. I think that certain people do need to be canceled, but certain people, it's like, it's okay to make mistakes.
Yes.
And it's okay to own it. And the important thing is that you learn from it and you do better. Because when you know better, you do better, right? So like people need to give others a little bit of grace in that area, I feel like. And, you know, everybody has a different story and everybody has a different, like everybody's going through something, right? And as long as your intention is not to hurt the person, and when you hurt the person, you forget about your own feelings and just acknowledge that they're hurting and you did something to make them feel that way, then I don't think there's anything wrong with having difference of opinions.
Yeah.
Right. But there is difference of opinions and you have to learn to like let it go sometimes and realize you're not going to win everybody over. And it just is what it is.
Completely. I think that's the thing. I'm not coming at a person who says they suffer from depression in a negative way. I am very fortunate in my life that I don't have that program in my head. I don't, or maybe I don't allow it. I don't know. Do I have depressive situations in my life? Absolutely.
Everybody does.
Right. If somebody whom I loved passed away tomorrow, if I got God forbid, if I got a call that said one of your family members has passed away, yes, I would be depressed for a little bit. But right. I'm not going to, to me, maybe it's because I don't suffer from clinical depression or I don't suffer from it, so I don't understand that mentality. But my mentality is never at a place of pain or even dismissing it. It's at a place of, well, I don't understand it, but this is how I live my life that helps
this is
me
what works for me
when I'm in those depressive moments. And I
Yeah.
think so much behind it is people not willing to listen to it. And I love what you just said because you're right. Like I feel like cancel culture, I feel like a lot, and like you said, I'm not talking about the people that are bigoted and just saying things off the
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
Flying off the handle. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that might have said something in the past and because they were taught certain information.
Right, or just uneducated.
Right, and then 10 years later, they learned something new or the information has now changed, so now they've changed their thoughts on it. I'm talking about those people I believe do deserve some grace. I do believe deserve forgiveness because why are you putting so much weight on somebody? I've said this in the past. I've done stupid stuff on the internet that are out there in the ether. I don't even know where they are. I've gotten videos. I've done videos with family members, friends, cousins, etc., where we were acting like complete jackasses. We were tackling each other, cussing up storms, trying to act tough, whatever. And if somebody put up a video of me doing that, yeah, I'd look at it now, maybe a little embarrassed. Maybe I'd look at it and say, that was crass of me.
But that's also a different version of you, too.
Right.
People bringing stuff up like that. It's like, nothing is cringier than Facebook status updates from 2010, Caitlin.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
I see them and I delete them because I'm like, girl, sit down. Like, I'm just like, song lyrics, like, God forbid. I'm just like, you know what? This is so embarrassing. But it's like, I was a teenager.
Right.
Like,
It's not a gotcha moment because we've all done stupid stuff on the internet. We all have said stupid stuff on the internet. So whenever somebody tries to say, look at what you did here, it's not a gotcha moment. It's just okay, yeah, I was an idiot on the internet. Ran my mouth, thought I was funny. It didn't land. Move on.
Right.
That's how most people live. But I think the unfortunate part about it is there are some people that are just looking to be malicious and say, no, this is showing that they're an evil person. And it's very sad because, especially what I do here, I feel like I've interacted with hundreds of people, and I feel like that out of those hundreds of people, most of them would sit there and say, no, he's a nice guy. He may disagree with some of the thoughts, but he's never once made me feel uncomfortable. He's never once made me feel like that. I would like to think that that's the perception. But there is going to be those people that will sit there and go, no, he's a jerk. He's a dick. Oh, my God, I can't believe he said that. He's an awful person. And that's not how, I don't subscribe to that idea. I think I'm willing to listen to people. I'm willing to respect opinions. I'm willing to even just say, no, I'm a different person, and I disagree with that. But we still share the spinning rock, and I still care about you. I still think you're a badass. I still think you're an awesome person. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Plug in your socials again. Where can people find you and all that good stuff?
Everywhere that matters. No, TikTok and Instagram at The Sculpted Slice. You can find me. I will hopefully have more content coming soon. When everything starts to slow down a little bit in July, I'm hoping to get some more videos out, build my presence on TikTok, maybe a YouTube channel. Who knows what the future holds? We'll see.
You'll see me subscribing to that. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you once again for taking time out of your busy schedule, sitting, chatting with me. It's all with love. It's so much fun. I appreciate you, Caitlin.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me back. Can't wait for that three-peat.
Absolutely. We're champions over here. That is going to do it for this episode of the Reyes Reflection Podcast. Follow the show. Share the show with someone you know. Just say, hey, give the Reyes Reflection a listen. Follow me on those socials at I'm Nathanael Reyes, and check out our wonderful sponsors, Arave Cards, Jocko Fuel, and Mad Rabbit. And as always, may you live, may you love, and may you thrive. I'm Oprah as a dude, and I love you all.